$12,000 per gallon. More than vintage champagne, more than human blood. That's the price of printer ink. You walk into a store, see a printer for $39, a steal, you buy it, take it home, set it up. The first cartridge runs dry in weeks. You open the replacement aisle and the trap snaps shut. The printer companies didn't stumble into this. They engineered it. The razor and blades model. Sell the handle cheap, lock you into the blades forever. But here's the twist. It worked. By every measure, it won. Profits soared. Shareholders cheered. And you kept paying. So how did a commodity that costs pennies to produce become one of the most expensive liquids on Earth, and who's really profiting from the scheme? The answer isn't just greed. It's a system of software locks, legal threats, and silent updates that turn your own machine against you. And the same playbook is running right now in industries you'd never suspect. You walk into an electronics store. A sleek, all-in-one printer sits on the shelf for $40. That's less than a dinner for two. You buy it, take it home, set it up. The first print job works fine. Then the ink runs out. You open the replacement cartridge aisle. A single black ink cartridge, $30. A color set, $60. Suddenly, that cheap printer cost you more than $100 in its first month. This is the razor and blades model. Sell the handle cheap, make the blades expensive. But printer companies have perfected it into a trap. They sell the hardware at a loss, sometimes even below manufacturing cost. They know you'll be back and back and back. The ink itself costs almost nothing to produce, a few cents per cartridge. Yet the retail price, staggering. 1 gallon of printer ink can cost over $12,000. That's more than vintage champagne, more than human blood. 70% of HP's profit comes from ink, not printers, ink. The machine is just a beautifully designed plastic and circuit board trap that sits on your desk, waiting. But how do companies ensure you can't escape this trap? You buy a printer for $30, feels like a steal, but inside that box is a trap. The real cost is hidden in the cartridges. So why can't you just refill them, or buy a cheaper third-party version? The answer is a war fought in code and courtrooms. Printer companies embed microchips in every cartridge. These chips track ink levels, but they also act as digital locks. The moment you try to install a refilled or generic cartridge, the printer refuses. It flashes an error, ink cartridge not recognized. You're stuck. You have to buy the official one. But that's just the first line of defense. If you find a workaround, the company can send a software update to your printer automatically over Wi-Fi. That disables the hack. You wake up one morning and your printer is bricked, not broken, blocked, by the same company that sold you the machine. They've also sued small refill businesses into bankruptcy. Legal fees alone can crush a startup. The message is clear: don't compete. The production cost of that ink, pennies. The retail price, a fortune. But the real product isn't the ink, it's your loyalty, enforced by code and law. So what happens when your printer suddenly stops working because of an update? Subscribe to uncover the hidden economics behind everyday products. The justification sounds reasonable at first. Research and development, they say. Proprietary printhead technology, precision engineering that cost billions to perfect. But here's the truth hiding behind the fine print. The actual production cost of that ink is pennies. The raw materials are simple: carbon black, a solvent, a binder. Nothing exotic. Nothing that explains a price tag that makes vintage champagne look like tap water. Therefore, the real justification isn't cost, it's control. The razor and blades model demands that the printer itself be sold at a loss or near it. So the ink must carry the entire weight of the company's profit. And it does. HP, for example, takes home a staggering 70% profit share on its ink cartridges. That's not margin on. You buy a printer, it works fine for months. Then one morning, a message appears on your screen. Ink cartridge not recognized. The printer refuses to print. You check the cartridge, it's genuine, but it's refilled. The software update you installed last night flagged it as counterfeit. The machine locks down. You have two choices: buy a new official cartridge or throw the printer away. This is not a glitch, it's a feature. Printer companies use software updates to disable functionality, block third-party ink, and even stop you from scanning if a cartridge is low. The goal is simple: protect the 70% profit margin on ink. That's the real product. The printer is just a delivery system. The production cost of a cartridge is a few dollars. You pay $30. The difference is pure margin, and the company will fight to keep it. They patent the chips, the firmware, the shape of the cartridge. They sue third-party manufacturers. They push updates that break compatibility. You are not a customer. You are a revenue stream. But what happens when you refuse to buy another cartridge? What happens when you look for a way out? Some users jailbreak their printers. Others switch to ink tank models that cost more upfront but slash per page costs. Yet the trap is still there, waiting for the next buyer. Are there any ways to break free from this cycle? You walk into the store again. This time, you see a different machine, an ink tank printer, no cartridges. Instead, you buy bottles of ink and pour them directly into built-in reservoirs. The cost per page drops to pennies. A single bottle lasts for thousands of prints. It sounds like the escape. But the industry has other plans. These tank printers are often hidden behind the cartridge models on shelves. Salespeople steer you toward the cheaper upfront option. The companies that make them, the same ones that profit from the razor and blades model, don't push them. They market them as for high-volume offices only. They make them harder to find. They design the tanks with proprietary chips that still block third-party ink. Even when you buy the bottle, you're still locked in. Therefore, adoption stays low. Most consumers never hear about the alternative. They see the $30 printer, they buy it, and the trap snaps shut again. So the question hangs in the air. Why aren't more people switching to these cost-saving options? So who really wins when a single drop of printer ink costs more than a pint of human blood? The answer sits in a boardroom, not a lab. Printer companies don't sell printers, they sell subscriptions to printing. The machine itself is a loss leader, a plastic Trojan horse you bring into your home. You plug it in, and the trap snaps shut. The moment your cartridge runs dry, the software flags it. A firmware update arrives, and suddenly your third-party refill is a brick. You can't print black without cyan. The error message reads like a command. Install genuine cartridge to continue. The profit isn't in the printer, it's in the ink. And the ink is engineered to be consumed fast, replaced often, and never refilled. The production cost of that cartridge, pennies. The price you pay, a fortune. But you already bought the machine. You're locked in. Yet there is a crack in the model. Ink tank printers exist. Systems where you pour bottles of ink into reservoirs, not cartridges. The upfront cost is higher. The long-term cost is a fraction. But most consumers never see them. The store shelves are stacked with cheap printers because cheap printers sell. And cheap printers mean expensive ink. So the question lingers, unsettling and quiet. If this model works so well for printer ink, what everyday product is next? So how did a liquid that costs pennies to manufacture become more expensive per ounce than vintage champagne or human blood? The answer is a single brutal sentence. The printer is the bait, and the cartridge is the trap. You walk into a store, you see a sleek all-in-one printer for $40. A steal, you buy it, take it home, plug it in. The starter cartridges run dry after 50 pages. You open the replacement pack. $80. You do the math. That's $12,000 a gallon, more than a bottle of Dom Perignon, more than a pint of O negative. You're not buying a printer, you're buying a license to be bled. The companies, HP, Canon, Epson, they don't hide it. HP's ink division alone delivers a 70% profit margin. That's not a markup, that's a monopoly enforced by software. They send updates that brick your printer if you try a third-party cartridge. They embed chips that count pages and declare the ink empty when a quarter remains. The machine you own doesn't belong to you, it belongs to them. But here's the lesson that pays off every loop. Whenever the upfront cost feels too good to be true, the real price is hidden in the refill. The razor is cheap, the blades are the fortune. And the same model runs your coffee pods, your razor cartridges, your phone's subscription fees. The question isn't who's running this one, it's who's running the next. Stay curious, stay critical.